New generation.
Hello there everybody, Scotia here, and welcome to what is hopefully going to be a long-running podcast series that I'm doing with my friend Tom here. So this is the New Generation podcast. This is, not something that has really been that long in the works, but it's something me and my friend Tom here have talked about. Me and Tom have known each other for quite a long time now. We went to college together, and then we moved to university together. We've both studied the same thing, so, we're both very familiar with each other and the things that we do, and obviously our hobbies, which is mostly gaming. But Tom, if you'd like to do a quick introduction, that'd be great.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tom. So Nathan and I had a podcast back in uni, so it's really cool to be doing it again.
Cool, yeah. So, like Tom said, we used to do a podcast back in university. We actually used to do multiple on different subjects. So it has been quite a long time for us. So if we are a bit shaky and a bit, uneven on our feet, just bear with us. Hopefully, as we get used to doing this, it will, we will both improve and get better with it. Yeah. So the name New Generation, it has quite a lot of meanings actually. Obviously, if you know me and you know the type of things I talk about, obviously New Generation is an obvious one because, I have said in the past how big of a fan I am of Street Fighter 3, so, New Generation makes sense there. But also, it's a new generation of podcasts for me and Tom, like we just said. We did one in the past, and now this is, our new attempt at doing one. New generation as well for consoles. Obviously, we are a few years into the current generation, but, is there any other meaning out there, Tom, for the name New Generation for you?
No, you've got all of them in one. It's just really great to be doing this again.
Yeah, definitely. It has been something we have been talking about for actually quite a few years now, but, just trying to get ourselves in the right place, try and get ourselves in the right position to finally do it. But yeah, here we finally are. So yeah, this first episode is mostly going to be about, I think, EVO 2023, Evolution 2023, which is the big fighting game tournament of the year that just happened the previous weekend. So, Tom, I would say, you probably aren't the biggest fighting game fan, if I'm correct on that.
Yeah, so I have played plenty of them, but I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan. I do enjoy elements of it, but I think the main reason is I'm not very good at them.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I mean, I am a big fan of them, but oh man, I think every time I go online, I get absolutely destroyed. So I think it's why I, gravitated towards the more character and story side of it, because man, I can't play them for shit either. But yeah, so that's basically just going to be the topic. We're just going to be going over mainly some of the announcements that were made throughout the EVO weekend. There are other topics as well, obviously some of them that Tom has brought up, but I think we've got some good stuff lined up that that is going to make this a very special first episode. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the first topic. So I think first off, I think a good game to start with is one that I'm personally quite excited for, and I know you're not super familiar with it, Tom, but I will try, and give you a kind of crash course into it. But Garou 2, or as it's now known as, Garou City of the Wolves, we finally got our first look at the gameplay of it, and before I go into the history of Garou and why this is such a special, game for so many people, what were your thoughts on the trailer, Tom, as somebody with no real knowledge of Garou or the Fatal Fury series?
Yeah, so I'm just watching it again to refamiliarize myself. From what I remember watching it yesterday, it was interesting. I mean, it has the kind of typical issue I have with teaser trailers. Is it teases you and it doesn't actually show you exactly what to expect, but you do get some decent hints at character intros, a bit of kind of in-game footage to see what it's actually going to look like, which is great because there's plenty of teaser trailers that only show a CGI trailer or don't show gameplay at all. So I do really applaud it for that. What about you? What do you think?
I'm actually quite impressed with it. Obviously, SNK, they've had some kind of ups and downs in the past. They've always been a very tumultuous company in terms of constantly being on the verge of just closing at any moment. But I think a couple of years ago, I think around 2016, was the first game that they actually made in 3D, which was the King of Fighters 14, and that game really did not look that great visually, but you could tell it was like a first attempt. But they've honestly been improving, game after game since then, and this is just another example of that. I think this game looks far better than KO 15 does. I really like the cel shaded style of it. I think Terry and Rock, the two characters in this trailer, I think they look great. So yeah, I'm very happy with it. I really, I just can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really like the art style. It's one of those things where I'm surprised that Street Fighter didn't go that way.
Yeah, so Street Fighter 4, which was, Capcom's first, 3D... Well, not their first one, but the first, mainline 3D Street Fighter game. Yeah, that had an almost, cel-shaded-ish style, but, without the cel shading, if that makes sense. It was a very weird style that, Street Fighter 5 kind of, continued on, and I think it made better, but it was a style that, I just don't know how long they could have kept going with it, so I get, why they eventually completely changed it with Street Fighter 6. But no, I think it's a good evolution of how King of Fighters 14 looked to then how Samurai Showdown, which was the game after that, looked, and now King of Fighters 15, which was after Sam Show, to now Garo 2. I think it's a very good. You can see the progress they've been making. You can see how they've been bringing in pieces of each game. The lessons they've learned from the developments of those games to now this one, because this is a very important game for SNK, and I'll get into it in a second, but this is a game that they really have to nail down perfectly, because Garo is a very important game that really defined SNK for quite a lot of the last 20 or so years. So I'll give you a brief crash course on the history of it. So in the early 90s, quite a few developers from Capcom who had worked on Street Fighter 1 and I think Street Fighter 2, they eventually moved to SNK, and they made a new series called Fatal Fury, and that was a very successful franchise for SNK. It really put them on the map. And that series starred Terry Bogard, and you'll probably find the name funny, but the main villain of Fatal Fury was called Geese Howard.
Oh, right, okay.
And it was basically, Geese Howard was a crime kingpin. Terry was, an orphan street fighter, and they kept clashing, and there was kind of just constant fights with Terry's family, who were linked to Geese, and Geese was involved in their father's death, and it was that kind of story. But then in one of the final Fatal Fury games, Geese actually dies. He straight up dies, which is very rare for a fighting game, for any character to die, never mind the main villain. But no, Geese was, he full on died. And then the next game after that, in 1999, was Garo Mark of the Wolves, which this is the sequel to. And you may have heard me talk in the past about, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and how I really rate that as my favorite fighting game of all time.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So if I had to pick a very close second in terms what do I think is the second best fighting game of all time, I would definitely say it is Garo Mark of the Wolves. It is an exceptional game. Quite interestingly, it actually got rid of a lot of its, core cast from Fatal Fury. Terry was the only character from, the previous Fatal Fury games who actually came back for Garo, which is a thing that actually, happened quite often in the late 90s. Street Fighter 3 got rid of almost everybody of their cast, which really, didn't work out for them. Tekken as well, for Tekken 3 in 1998, they got rid of a lot of their cast, kept a lot of them as well, but, that worked really well for them. For SNK and Garo and Fatal Fury, it worked fairly well for them, but for some reason, I think because of the financial troubles that SNK were having at the time, we just never really got anything after Garo, which was a shame. The other character I just realised I hadn't actually mentioned yet. So the main character of Garo is Rock Howard, who is actually Geese's son, and basically after Geese's death, Terry takes Rock in as sort of a son, but also kind of a student-ish type thing. So Rock has a lot of moves from Terry, but he also has a lot of moves from Geese, so he's a really cool combination of the main character and the main antagonist.
Oh, right, okay.
So yeah, Rock is a very popular character. It's no surprise he's one of the first characters they're showing off here. But yeah, that's basically the rough history of Garo. It's a very popular fighting game, a very well received fighting game that basically just really got left, unfinished. And it's really, really cool that finally, after all these years, they're finally doing a sequel to it. And so far, it definitely seems like they're going to be doing it justice.
So next up we have Sea of Stars is available for launch day as part of PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium game catalogue. And it comes out launch day, which is August 29th. And I just think it's amazing that we're getting that day one.
Yeah, you showed me a trailer like not too long ago, and I honestly I think it looks amazing. Like I don't know if you've ever played it or if you've ever seen it. Sorry, but it really reminds me of games like Chrono Trigger, which is like that really like just polished 2D sprite based gameplay, and just the systems and just the graphics and the overall tone of the game. I think it's very sort of a blend of like Chrono Trigger, maybe a bit of Octopath Traveler, and I think it looks really really good. So I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got an interesting take on the turn-based as well. It's similar to Chrono Trigger, but when your character's throwing, sword strikes, you can actually you press your button in time with their sword strikes, and it multiplies it basically increases the damage of the attack.
Oh, cool.
So it's like real-time turn-based. It's a pretty interesting spin.
Yeah, no, that actually really does sound interesting. I mean, I saw bits of it from the gameplay, and it does seem very interesting. Like, it's a weird thing with, like, Chrono Trigger. Like, obviously, I don't want to talk about too much about Chrono Trigger here, but, yeah, like, when I first played that, like, a couple of years ago, like, the way the gameplay, like, worked, I didn't really get it at first, but, like, once it clicked, I was like, oh, no, I, like, 100% get what's going on here. And, like, now that I think about it, like, and from what I recall from the trailer, it does have that kind of same feeling where I hope like once I actually get my hands on it that it'll just click and I'll be like, oh yeah, this works great. But no, it looks really really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And like just the art style alone is just it's just phenomenal. Like, yeah, it's pixelated but really really beautiful. It's pixelated but not, it's not 8-bit, 16-bit. It's even better than say the pixel remasters of Final Fantasy, because this is a totally different art style.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I would honestly say it's close to like the HD 2D trend that Square Enix is kind of like chasing with some of their games. Like if you remember, I don't know if I ever showed you it, but did you ever see the trailer for the Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake?
Oh no.
I'll have to show you sometime, but if you watch that and then you think about Sea of Stars, it's not one to one. Like obviously Dragon Quest is doing its own thing, but the same. I think the quality is very similar in terms of like it's very well polished, well animated, like 2D sprites, which is I'm glad it's getting like a kind of like sort of renaissance. Obviously, I think it was a thing that like a lot of indie games were chasing back in the day. Like obviously back when we were in college, like Hotline Miami. Stuff like that was really just kicking up a storm with how obviously how good those games were, but just how good they looked. And it's good that more kind of like bigger like platforms like Sony, like Square Enix are actually embracing 2D sprite based games more. I think that's really really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really hoping that if the art is anything to go by, that the story is really good as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you kind of need that with a turn-based RPG.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of expected at this point in terms of like how so many like JRPGs, well not just JRPGs, sorry, but just RPGs in general. Like it's kind of like synonymous with the genre at this point. That's like if you play an RPG, like you're kind of expecting a really good story to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't played Chrono Trigger, but I've heard great things, particularly about its story.
It's honestly amazing. Sorry to interrupt, but like, it is
it's all good.
Incredible. Like I think honestly for that time period, that is like Chrono Trigger is a game where it's like it shouldn't have been made, because like the people behind it is like if you create like a 90s like JRPG like dream team, it was the team that made Chrono Trigger. Like it's insane.
Oh, awesome. And so it's that thing where it's like I'm really hoping that this competes with it, and I'll be really interested to see critically how it does and what the kind of universal consensus is for its story compared to others.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that'll be really interesting.
I think it's also coming out at like a pretty decent time. The only kind of downside is like it is coming out very close to Baldur's Gate 3, which is a game I might actually genuinely pick up when that comes out on PlayStation 5.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
But August 29th, like, I think that should hopefully give people enough time to, maybe, play Sea of Stars, get a feel of it maybe, or, maybe even sit down and complete the whole thing if they get engaged by it, and then, have enough time to play Baldur's Gate 3 if that's, if they are interested in both games. Like, I feel like there's enough time to, finish one before the other, which I think is good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that comes out August 29th. It's launch day, and it's going to be free if you have PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium, which is just insane.
No, I think that's really good, yeah. I'm not actually, like, subbed on the Premium or the Extra, but I might do, to be honest, just for this. Like, it looked really good. Do you know how much it is normally, or not? It's fine if you don't.
I will just check for you, 1 sec. So it's priced at $10.99 for a month.
Oh wow, that's actually a really good price. I will actually genuinely probably buy that. Awesome, yeah. That's really, really good. That's a really, really good price for it. Actually, I think that's a very smart decision on their part.
Absolutely. And there's quite a few games coming out that are going to be added to the catalogue soon, and one of them is Lost Judgment, the Yakuza spin-off.
Oh, nice, yeah. I actually bought that on sale and I've still not played it. But that's really, really good.
Yeah. And there's a few others. There's like lawn mowing simulator, which looks quite fun. And like there's some weird ones, but I mean, Sea of Stars just knocks it out of the park for this one.
Yeah, like I definitely think that is probably, like, to be honest, like that's a game where like a couple days ago I didn't even know that existed, and like ever since you showed me it, I've been like, oh man, like I can't wait to just dive in on it and just mainly just see what it's like, just get a feel for it. Like, even if I start it and then maybe don't go back to it until later in this year, like I'm fine with that. Like, but I need to just see what it's like.
So yeah, we thought we'd just have a discussion. So the Marvel Spider-Man 2 new story trailer released a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And so basically, what do you think of it?
Yeah, so obviously we are a bit late on this, but I think that's kind of natural given, the time that we decided to do this podcast. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed the trailer. I thought it was a very, very good trailer. I think I even said to you and a couple of like other friends that we have that like after the kind of gameplay kind of showcase trailer they did at the State of Play the other month, like I really kind of wasn't that sold on Spider-Man 2. I thought it was kind of just looking more of the same. Like the gameplay was just like, because I think what didn't help was that I just like a couple of months before that like played Spider-Man and Miles Morales for the first time, so it was like a lot of what I was seeing in that trailer was just kind of like more of the same, and I think that was definitely kind of like just throwing me off a bit and kind of making me be like, kind of like been there, seen that, done that, swung that, punched that guy, done this and all that. But no, like the story trailer they put out, I think like at Comic-Con, I thought was like crazy good. Like, it really, really sold me on the game, really made me excited for the plot. It really did a good job on selling me on it. Yeah,
it's I enjoyed the gameplay showcase, but it was lacking in terms of context of story, and I think this just gave just enough to really kind of build the hype. I feel like I am going to stop watching any trailers of it now. I'm sold on it. I don't need to be sold anymore.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I might watch a couple more, but I'm not sure. I think at this point, I'm definitely not going to get it when it comes out, because I think I'm still a bit too... Like, it's not the game's fault, it's not Insomniac's fault. I just think for me, I played Spider-Man and Miles Morales like too soon. Like, it's been too soon for me.
Yeah.
To like play it when it comes out. Like, I think I might wait until like next year, maybe hopefully wait for the price to go down. But like, I will absolutely like pick it up at some point. So I might even like just go, complete darkness on it and just not watch anything, or complete like blackout and just not watch any more of it. Because like you said, like I am sold on the premise of the story. Like, I don't really need to see anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It is one of those things, like I think now that the price of games has gone up, and it's gone up, I would argue, significantly more in the UK.
Absolutely.
Compared to the US.
Yeah, it's rough.
It is one of those it is one of those things where, I think now people are kind of taking their time a bit more and enjoying games when they can comfortably afford them.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I completely agree, and you know, yeah, I think if you've already scratched that itch, you know, it's better to play a game when you're actually, you know, hyped for it and you've got that like feeling for it. If you kind of forced to play a game just because it's the latest one out, sometimes I think it can just kind of go over your head, because it, you know, you're not really playing it for the fun factor, like out of pure enjoyment. You're just playing out of you know, almost like a job.
No, yeah, 100%. I feel like if I played Spider-Man 2 when it comes out, like it's in October, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, like I feel like at this point, if I played Spider-Man 2 in October, it would purely be for like FOMO, like fear of missing out, of like, oh, I've got to play it when everybody else plays it. I've got to be in on the social buzz. But like, I'm really not that bothered. Like, I'll play it when I get around to it. Like, obviously there is the risk of spoilers, which I fully accept. Like, I'm not the biggest like spoiler phobe. Like, I'll be bummed if I get spoiled on it, but if I do, like, it won't, you know, ruin things for me too much. But no, like I am more than comfortable with waiting, you know, to actually play Spider-Man 2. Like, when I actually like want to play it, you know, like I'm in no rush. I know the game's going to be good whenever I do get around to it. Like, there's no strong feeling of like, oh no, I need to play it when it comes out. So yeah, I'm honestly really happy with that. Like, I'm honestly super comfortable. Which normally in the past I've been like, oh man, that sucks. Like, I'm not excited for it. But I'm honestly like, no, I'll get to it in my own time.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. You know, as you get older, like, you start to realise the game's not going anywhere.
Definitely.
There's always a worry of like, you know, spoilers and stuff, but I think if you, as long as you don't look at certain forums and you don't look at like comments on YouTube videos, you're normally safe. I would say. Yeah,
I think from this point on, I'm basically like not gonna watch anything Spider-Man related. Like, not even like game related, like just even I'm not gonna like click on a video that has the word Spider or Man in it. Like, I'm not like, because like I actually was really annoying. I got spoiled on like a really big twist in God of War Ragnarok. I'm not gonna say what the twist was in case people, you know, haven't played it. But I was literally like looking for the hint for a puzzle, and like one of the videos on the side was literally like just in big bold letters, just like massive spoiler, and I was just like, oh man. Really did my head in. So like, I'm purely like, I'm not looking up on anything Spider-Man related on YouTube, because like that algorithm will spoil me.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I get why people put those videos out, but I wish that they didn't spoil it in the title or the thumbnail. So sometimes, you know, just seeing an image or something, you're like, oh, I kind of know what that is now.
Yeah. So I like, also again, similar, like, it was actually with God of War as well. I wasn't playing it at the time, so I was probably not that bothered about it. But like, I remember like a video I saw for like the final boss of 2018 God of War. It was like, so I think the thumbnail was like, again, I'll try not to spoil it, I guess. I know it's a pretty old game at this point, but it was like a picture of like the face of it with like Kratos in the middle, and it was like the way it was framed. It was like, I was like, oh, okay, so I know that boss is gigantic, and like, yeah. It wasn't game ruining. I had no idea what the context was, but I knew like that kind of like that special thing of like, oh, okay, like going into it when I finally did play 2018, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is the big thing. I think because you find that thing like before you even fight it, like way earlier. And when I saw that thing for the first time, like, you know, hours before you fight it, I was like, oh, this is the thing I'm going to fight at the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, part of the enjoyment, you know, that's being surprised of something is like a huge part of an experience. So, like, the same exact thing happened to me, and it, you know, it was one of those things where it's like, if it was that was amazing, but if I hadn't just seen that thumbnail of a video, I would have been, you know, completely blind to it, and it would have had more of a payoff in that way.
Absolutely, yeah. There's so many things. Even like, I know it's kind of sort of not like, it's kind of similar but not the same. But it's like leaks as well of stuff of like, all the Mortal Kombat 1 leaks, like, if anything, they've made me even more excited for the game. But, like, I just can't, I can't think of, like, if I didn't know that, like, Asher and Havoc were in the game and I saw that trailer at EVO, I'd have fucking lost my mind. And, like, I was still excited and I still, you know, was really hyped for it. But, like, you can't help but think, like, man, like, what could have been? Like, what that reaction if I didn't know it was happening? Like, I didn't know it was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, I mean, one of the things with the issue with leaks is you don't know if they're legitimate or not. Sometimes there can be evidence to support that they pretty much are legitimate, but, you know, something like that, you know, you're not quite sure, so you're like, oh, that's amazing, but then I also slightly have this doubt about it, so I don't know if I should be hyped, you know, and then when it gets confirmed for real, you're like, oh, amazing, but I kind of already know that, you know, so it's a difficult thing.
No, absolutely, yeah, it is, like, it's a tricky thing. It's like, I'm excited, but, like, man, I could have been even more excited, and, you know, and I'm not someone that's, like, driven on hype and, like, you know, always wanting to, you know, get my mind blown and all that. I'm perfectly, like I said, with the MK1 reveals, like, all of them have been amazing, and, like, I keep getting, like, blown away by the game. But, you know, I just feel like that little extra bit of specialness to it is lost, and it's the same with, like, spoilers on stuff. Like I said, the God of War twist, it's like the one in Ragnarok I got spoiled on. Like, if it was, like, if I didn't know that was coming, like, I would have had a much stronger reaction to it. And I actually ended up really not liking that twist, and I think I would have not liked that twist anyway. You know, if I didn't get spoiled on it, but because I knew of it in advance sooner than was that, you know, was intended for me, like, the whole time I'm like, oh man, like, it just made, I think it just, like, highlighted it more, like, why I didn't end up liking it. But it's just a shame, like, to kind of, like, get your first experience like that, you know, warped in a way that isn't, you know, wasn't intended. It is a shame, but, you know, so while there is that concern with Spider-Man 2, I think ultimately, even if I do get spoiled, I think I will enjoy the game and I will, you know, get my enjoyment out of it. But yeah, I'm definitely not looking up anything Spider-Man related on YouTube.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So, yeah, Spider-Man 2 is coming out October 2023, and very excited to play it. Don't know if I'll play it day one, but definitely intrigued.
So moving on to the next topic, we're going to quickly go back to the EVO kind of news roundups, because we're going to jump to Tekken 8 right now, because Tekken 8 got 2 new trailers for 2 new characters that are being added to the game. And the first one is Raven, and he's a, you know, in some ways I'm kind of surprised, but I'm also not surprised that Raven's coming back. His last game was Tekken 6, I believe. He was in his first game was Tekken 5. But he completely missed Tekken 7 because a new character in that game called Master Raven was in Tekken 7, so it kind of made sense, like, no need to really have 2 of them. But we've got Raven back, and yeah, it's a weird thing. So basically Raven's deal is that he's sort of like a secret agent type of ninja thing. I'm not, like, super familiar, to be honest, with, you know, his backstory and all that. But I think, to me, it's kind of like, I'm not surprised Raven is coming back over Master Raven. She was a character, obviously, like I just said, was introduced in Tekken 7. But I think a big problem that a lot of Tekken 7 newcomers had was that, like, a lot of them really got pushed aside, you know, for the sake of the main story, which was, you know, the usual Kazuya versus Heihachi storyline. So it was a bummer, like, and quite a lot of characters, not just Master Raven, but, you know, Master Raven included, really got the short end of the stick, which is a shame. And it's kind of that natural thing where it's like, you know, it's kind of just natural that people are going to like Raven more because he's been in more games, he's had more of a chance to shine on his own. But he looks really good. I was never a Raven player or even really a fan. I like him, but I'm not, like, crazy into him. But I think he looks really good here. I don't know what you thought of him.
Yeah, I think his character design's really interesting. The world that they like, the kind of level, the stage. I think that's really interesting. I don't know what that has on, you know, how that reflects with the story.
I can kind of, because there's some ideas and there's some kind of, like, little hints in the stages that people noticed. I can explain it if you would like.
Yeah, go for it. So
basically, so there's a character called Jun, who is the mother of Jin, if you're familiar with Jin.
I'm not, but...
It's fine, yeah. So basically, kind of give a kind of very brief synopsis of Tekken. So you've got a character called Heihachi Mishima, He's a bastard. His son, Kazuya Mishima, basically has a gene from his mother's side of the family that basically turns him into a devil. So when Heihachi learned this when Kazuya was a child, he threw Kazuya off a volcano. Sorry, not off a volcano. He did that in 2. He threw Kazuya as a kid off a cliff, and was kind of oh, if he lives, then he's got the devil gene. But if he dies, then he was fine. That's kind of the type of bastard Heihachi is.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, I feel like that's been referenced in.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that clip, but then was it referenced in Mortal Kombat or something?
I think it was in Smash when Kazuya got announced for Smash.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I think that's what you're thinking of. Yeah, it's a pretty big meme in Tekken, because Kazuya's ending in the first Tekken game is him throwing Heihachi off a cliff, and then in Tekken 2, Heihachi's ending is him throwing Kazuya into a volcano.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then so story-wise, that was because Kazuya was dead for ages, but then in Tekken 3 they introduced Jin, which was Kazuya's son that he had with the character who was also in Tekken 2 called Jun. But just so basically between Tekken 2 and 3, Jun got killed by the main villain of Tekken 3, who was called Ogre. And then she was gone for years, and she's always been a very highly asked for character, and now she's finally back in 8, because now the plot is going to be Kazuya versus Jin, because Tekken 7's plot was Heihachi versus Kazuya, so it's grandfather and father, they've had their battle, the father won, now it's the father versus the son.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you honest, Tekken has it's kind of gotten messy over the years. When it first started, it was actually pretty straightforward, but as the years have gone on and Tekken's scope has gotten bigger, it's kind of gotten a bit kind of all over the place at times. But I think the basic premise of it is still really cool. But yeah, so basically Jun's been gone for a long time, and she was actually thought to be dead for basically since she stopped appearing after Tekken 2. But she's back in this game, and I think a lot of those stages are going to kind of be the answer to where has Jun been in this entire time.
Oh, interesting.
Because there's some it's very hard to notice, and I didn't notice it until I saw it on Twitter later. But there's so basically again, this is kind of a bit of, again, a tangent to explain this. But Tekken has some spin-off games called Tekken Tag Tournament, where it's the same characters but it's all tag teams.
Mm-hmm.
And in the intro for the first Tekken Tag Tournament, there's a CG cutscene where it's Jun and Jin by a lake, together, and there's some kind of shadowy ghost things in the back of the stage on the Raven stage in this trailer, and people actually noticed that they're actually mimicking Jun and Jin from that CG trailer.
Oh, okay.
Which is really hyper specific. It's insane people even notice that, but so I think that to me kind of makes me think oh, okay, that's the link, this is gonna be the thing that basically explains where Jun is being.
Awesome.
Yeah, Tekken's lore is mad. I've done some videos on it on the channel. I'm taking a break from it for a bit while I focus on other stuff, but yeah, Tekken's story is crazy, and it only gets crazier as the games go on.
Oh, cool. Yeah, my history with Tekken is Tekken 1 was the first fighting game I ever played.
Really? Wow, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's weird. I don't really know much of the story because I'm terrible at fighting games. And I couldn't tell you what the names are. I really loved King and Yoshimitsu. I know they're quite well known.
Yeah, King's always been a favourite of mine.
So yeah, in terms of story, I don't know anything. So maybe it would be good if I went back through them. And I've still got my original PS1 copy that I played of Tekken 1.
Oh, nice.
And I remember showing you. It's quite unique. It's got
yes,
it's a cardboard box.
Yes, now I recall you saying this. Yeah, I've never seen that before. I've never seen a cardboard PS1 box.
But yeah, one of the things I wanted to ask about Raven is, what do you think of his moveset? He's got quite an interesting moveset with these ghost-like copies of himself and stuff like that. Yeah, basically, just what do you think of it?
Yeah, I think it does look very cool. His super and his win pose, I think, especially look really, really cool. And yeah, I think unfortunately, it's I've never really played a lot of Raven. I did years ago, because the most I really have ever played of Tekken is probably Tekken 5 on the PSP. But like that was years ago. You're talking when I was like maybe like 13, 14 years old, which is like well over 10 years ago now. So I'm not super familiar with it. I didn't play a lot of Tekken 6, which was his last game, because I was not that big of a fan of Tekken 6. But I definitely think the moveset is cool. I don't know how much of it is like similar to his, you know, his other movesets. Like I don't know what's new. I don't really know what's old. But I definitely think this version of him, you know, kind of like disregarding all that, I definitely think this version of him is really cool, and I will definitely like try him out at some point. But no, I think it looks really cool. I think they've done a good job bringing him back. Like I said, like his design has always been like, he's kind of always been not so much written off, but he's also like he's kind of also like always been this kind of like, oh, he's just like Wesley Snipes. Like people just, oh, it's like he just looks like blonde Wesley Snipes, and he does. But I don't really think that's a bad thing. Like I think it's definitely taking like that inspiration of like, okay, this kind of actor, we're going to base it off, but then do your own thing with it.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got bleach blonde hair, which, you know, I don't know if Wesley Snipes ever did have blonde hair at any point.
I don't. Maybe for some different films, but never in that style. Like the hair and the glasses is definitely like Blade-esque, but I don't think he was ever blonde in Blade.
Yeah, certainly like the kind of almost tribal tattoo like sideburns. They're quite similar to Wesley Snipes' Blade. But like I would say, I don't know how he was in previous games, but certainly from the looks of this one, you know, like his costume, his powers, you know, it doesn't make me think of Blade straight away.
Yeah, I definitely think Blade has always kind of been like an underlying theme, but I think from the start he's always been more, I would say he's always been more like ninja-esque rather than like just straight up like, oh, you know, like assassin-y kind of like mercenary type bladey thing. He's definitely been like I said, there's themes there that are very reminiscent, but I definitely think like, you know, Raven as a character, as a gameplay style, has definitely gone and done his own thing. But it's that thing where it's like, I don't even think, you know, basing a character off an existing, you know, actor or famous person or anything like that, I don't think that's necessarily bad, because you look at other characters in other fighting games and it's like Balrog from Street Fighter has been an unabashed Mike Tyson ripoff for like 30 years, and he, you know, it's that like, he's done well. So, you know, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing for, you know, someone to kind of like, you know, these characters to be based off certain actors, but like, you know, I definitely feel like Raven, you know, stands out on his own enough to be more than just like, oh, he's Wesley Snipes, oh, he's Blade.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even just from like initial inspiration, if Blade was part of that inspiration, like that's such a good character to take inspiration from, and artists, you know, they steal from elsewhere to get inspiration to create. So like, yeah. You know, and then what's cool is that over time that character ends up growing and developing its own personality and fan base and
absolutely
reason for existing and all sorts. So like, no, like, you know, I think it's really cool.
No, definitely, yeah. Like I said, like people are definitely happy to see Raven back. I think some people are a little bummed that he's coming back over Master Raven, which I do get. But for me, it's like, I don't know. Like, yeah, sure, I definitely think Master Raven deserves another chance. I don't think it's going to be in this game because I think her and Raven are so similar. I'll show you a picture of Master Raven at some point after this.
Okay, cool, yeah.
But they're kind of similar. But like from what I remember, there are differences, but they kind of share similar stuff as well. So I would be surprised if Master Raven shows up at some point. But yeah, there's just nothing really. To be honest, it's that thing where it's like, you know, not to dismiss the character or anything like that, but it was kind of like Master Raven at its core, like she was really just Raven but like female, and like I think that's cool, and there's definitely that's definitely like, you know, room for that. But I don't know, 7 just really did not do a good job in making her stand out enough to just be more than just a female Raven, which I think is a shame. But no, yeah, definitely people I think are mostly happy to see Raven back. He was definitely a character that was missed in 7, so I think it makes perfect sense, really.
Awesome.
Cool. So yeah, Raven was the first character they showed off, and then they showed off a character for the first new character we've actually seen for Tekken 8, which is, and I hope I pronounced this right, was Azucena. from Peru, which I definitely really liked her, actually. I thought she looked really fun.
Yeah, she looks really cool. Really cool costume, character design, interesting stage with the llamas in the background. And I like to, I don't have much context on like the coffee thing, but like it's fun, it's cool.
So that type of stuff is kind of like, I don't know if it's so much a problem with modern Tekken, but it is kind of a thing of like, okay, here's this character's like one like personality trait, then that like let's just make this their entire character. Like people like people in real life, have obsessions with coffee and like, oh, I've got the coffee maker 6000 that fucking just makes liquid gold from coffee beans, and like that's cool, and it's a hobby for them and stuff like that. But they had there's more to them than just coffee beans and drinking coffee. But like you get to Tekken and it's like, I think her backstory, they said later on after they showed her off, was she's basically like, I think she's like the only daughter of like a really prominent coffee farm, like production, like coffee producer or something. I don't know what the term is, but basically her family is like pretty prominent in like making coffee in Peru, and she's basically like, oh, to promote coffee, my family's coffee, I'm just gonna go like fight people, which is a very common fighting game like backstory trope where it's like, oh, I'm gonna use fighting to go promote this completely fucking completely different thing that has no relation whatsoever. But it's a fighting game, so you kind of have to just give it a pass and go like, okay, whatever. But yeah, I definitely think the whole coffee obsession is probably my most negative thing about her, but it's not that big of a deal. It's just, you kind of just get used to it with Tekken, where it's like, okay, like there was a character in Tekken 7 called Lucky Chloe, who was like, do you know like the whole kind of like Japanese idol, kind of like VTuber type thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was kind of like Lucky Chloe, like that was just her character. She was just a cutesy Japanese anime girl with like cat ears, like like furry cat ears, who would just be like, just do like cute anime Japanese girl poses and stuff, and it was just like, okay, cool, that's definitely a character that's worth existing.
Yeah, it's like some of it's a bit shallow.
Yeah, no, 100%. The kind of funny thing about Lucky Chloe though was like, the backlash to her from like Western Tekken fans was like, so like people fucking hated her. Like over here, Japan loved her because of course, but like people in the West like could not stand her. And like it was so funny. Like I remember at like one point Harada, who's like kind of like the chief, kind of like the commander in chief, I guess, of Tekken, and kind of the face of the development team. He was like, oh, he was basically at one point he was like, oh cool, like we'll just not like, she'll basically like not be in any of the like Western versions of the game, like we'll just delete her. But he like he was joking, but like it got to that point where he was just like, oh fuck it, I'll just delete them, like if that's what you want. But it didn't come to that. But yeah, so like I said, it's nothing new for Tekken really. The kind of quite a few of their new characters lately have been sort of just like, hey, here's this one trope, this one kind of like personality thing that's just maximized to 100. But I definitely think this is kind of on the lesser scale where it's like, it's not awful and it's not, cringy, but it's a bit like, okay, I get it, you like coffee, but okay. But yeah, no, she looks really good, and I'm definitely interested in seeing what other newcomers they keep adding to Tekken 8. So yeah, I think all in all, pretty, two good reveals for them. So yeah, we're going to finally move on to our last topic here for this podcast, kind of saving the best for last really, because the last kind of trailer I want to talk about from EVO 2023 was the Mortal Kombat 1 trailer, or the official Banished trailer as it was called, which revealed Reptile, Ashra and Havoc. And I saved this trailer for last because honestly, I don't know about you, Tom, but this trailer blew me away. Like I've literally not stopped thinking about it since it came out.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I'm biased because Reptile is my favourite Mortal Kombat character.
Yeah, that was the other reason why I saved this for last, because I knew you would have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, so like I'm biased on that sense, but also like, god damn it, fucking finally they've brought human Reptile back, but they've also done it in a way where you also still get the Reptile version of Reptile as well. So like it's the best of both worlds. It's amazing.
It's such a genius choice. Like when I saw it, because I like this whole time, like because he got, I say he got leaked. Like, he was in a bunch of like names that was like popping up, but there was no info really. And the whole time I was wondering, like, what are they going to do with Reptile? Like, are they finally going to make him human, or are they just going to double down? And after Ermac got shown off for the combat pack, I was adamant they were going to just quadruple down, and they were going to just keep him like the same scaly, shitty human reptile hybrid that he was in 9 and X.
Yeah.
But no, like, I honestly, genius decision on their part. Like, this is literally, if this isn't how Reptile is done from now on, like, I'll be baffled. Like, everybody's just so in love with him. I like, honestly, he's now at this point probably the character I'm the most excited to play, which I never would have thought that would have ever happened.
Yeah, and like, it'll be really interesting to see. You know, I'm hoping he has it looks like he has a bit more reason to be in the story.
Yeah, like, it's so, honestly, it's just refreshing. Like, because the last few like story modes in like X and 11, like we were just following the same characters, and like we are in some sense still following the same characters. Like, we've still got Liu Kang and Raiden and Johnny Cage and Kenshi, but like some of the story like shots in that trailer was so interesting to me, because it's like you've got like, obviously you've got like Reptile, but you've got like Baraka as well, like two characters who've just basically just been like the punching bags of the story.
Yeah, the
like,
jobbers.
Yeah, basically, yeah, literally jobbers who have only been there to get beaten up, and like they're finally like they're interacting, they're walking with the group, like they're actually speaking, they've got dialogue, they have reasons, they have motivations. It's like they're good guys, and it's like, oh, like finally, like for so long now, I've wanted these characters to actually, you know, get a shot.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really excited. I hope that, you know, this isn't just, you know, I hope that when we actually get the game, they don't just kind of pull a fast one and he's actually just a jobber all over again.
Yeah, that would be so disappointing. I would hope they wouldn't do that, but they've made some questionable choices in the story in the past, so I don't think it's impossible. But I really, yeah, I don't know if I don't think it'll happen or not, but I really hope it doesn't, because it would be so predictable and just so like, oh, like we couldn't have anything, you know, interesting happen. Like, we just gotta go back to the same status quo. Like, Reptile's still an evil, snarly, you know, jobber.
Yeah.
But no, so far, like, honestly, like, just I really, you know, have to tip my hat to them, because they absolutely nailed it. Like, literally the perfect balance. Like, you've got human Reptile finally, the first time since MK3. Like, I think so. MK Trilogy actually was the last time we had human Reptile, because Trilogy was like a kind of everybody's here type game from MK1 to 3.
Oh wow.
So that was the last time he was like human Reptile. That came out in 1996. So that was the year I was born. It was the last time Reptile was human.
That's crazy.
From MK4 onwards, he's been the human Reptile hybrid.
Yeah.
So just, yeah, literally like 27 years, because obviously like we're both 27, and yeah, just mad like how long it's been since he's like been a human. And like just out of the gate, like I love his design. I actually think he has the best design so far in the game.
Yeah, it's really cool, and like I feel like because they've spent time on like you know, his look and his motion capture, facial motion capture.
Yeah.
You know, I'm interested in the tattoos. I'm interested in the whole, he can turn invisible and he can also turn into this reptile monster thing. It mentioned it in the trailer, how he was kind of like ostracized from his like tribe, I think he said.
Yeah. So basically, in the past games, Reptile's story has kind of always been the same. It's like he's basically part of this like reptilian race from Zetera, I think it's called. But in the storyline, it's like Shao Kahn like took over that realm like ages ago, and he's always been like the last of, you know, his race. And he's never been so much a bad guy as he has been someone who's been willing to work for the bad guys in order to get what he wants, which is, you know, to get his people back. But obviously, because he was a bad guy, he never got that, you know, and he would always lose, even back in like the original games. But then you get to, and then so that was even in the reboot, like MK9 and X and all that. That was still the same. This time, his story is that basically, like, his people like exist now, but because he's like the only one of them that can turn into a human. Like, they basically, like, bullied him and ostracized him and kicked him out.
Yeah, and so potentially it's either sympathetic villain or sympathetic hero, depending on which way they go with it. And I think that's a really cool angle to go now. Like, really fresh.
No, 100%. Yeah, like I said, it's just so refreshing to see him, like, actually be in a cutscene and, you know, have prominence, talk. Like, he's probably going to get his own playable chapter, which is awesome. And, like, what a lot of people have wanted for a long time now, because, like, in MKX, like, him and Ermac, like, they just got the shit beaten out of them, like, in every, you know, in almost every chapter. Like, they would always be the people that you would just fight in the story. So it's good that, like, they're actually getting prominence now. Same with Baraka. Like, super, like, he's always been just like, even in MK2, he was always just the guy that got beat up.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that they're finally, like, actually giving these kind of, like, looked over characters, you know, a bit of prominence.
Yeah, definitely. And, like, I don't think I've ever bought a Mortal Kombat game. I think I bought both Injustice games, but I don't think I ever bought any of the Mortal Kombat games, and so this might be the one I finally buy, and it's all because of Human Reptile.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, to be honest, I honestly feel like that's probably what they wanted. Like, I feel like they really want those people who, like, grew up with, like, Human Reptile back on, like, the arcade era, and, like, they want, like, it's like, hey, you know, Reptile's not shit anymore, because it's been a long running thing for, like, so many years now. So many people have, like, Reptile sucks. Like, he's just a loser. Like, can we do something different with him? Can we go back to human? Can we do this? Can we do that? And it's like, they finally listened.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Which is just really, really good. So the other two characters they've shown off, unfortunately, obviously, you've just been saying, you know, you've never really bought an MK game, but these two characters are from the PS2 games, and specifically they're from MK Deception, which is my personal favourite of the PS2 games. So the first one is Ashra, and she is, from her bio, she's basically like the exact same, like, kind of backstory that she had in the original games, where she's basically a demon from the Netherrealm, and basically she finds this, like, sword in the Netherrealm one day, and she basically uses it to kill demons. But it's kind of thing, like, every time she kills a demon, she becomes more, like, purified.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
And then, so kind of like her and the sword are on this quest to, like, cleanse themselves enough for them to be able to leave the Netherrealm. So that's kind of her story. Like, it's still the same here. Like, she's still design wise, I like the design, but, like, I don't know if I ever showed you her design in the PS2 games. It's kind of similar, but she had, like, a big hat, which she obviously doesn't have now, which I think is a shame, because I think it was a kind of, like, defining thing of, like, a kind of, like, her, like, silhouette, you know, was pretty, like, if you saw Ashra's, like, silhouette from the original games, you would know, like, okay, like, that's Ashra because of the hat.
Yeah.
But it's gone now, so I'm sure there'll be a costume that she'll have where she'll have it, but that's, like, a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about her, but I mean, from what I've seen in the trailer, she seems really cool. It'll be interesting to see how she fits in the story and how she plays as well, most importantly, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's that thing where it's like her and quite a lot of characters in this game, like, it's been that long since they've been playable that, like, they'll basically be new characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they'll be completely reinvented. And then the last character is Havoc, and he's a very, very, like, popular character. Like, a lot of people have wanted him for a really, really long time. So Havoc's backstory is he's from the Chaos Realm, which is one of the, like, other realms in the whole, like, MK kind of world. And so yeah, like, he's kind of, like, does what he says on the tin. Like, he just really likes chaos. Like, he's not even, like, a bad guy. He's not even a good guy. He's more, like, chaotic neutral. In that way, he's kind of similar to, like, the Joker in some ways, where it's like,
oh, okay, cool.
He will literally just do whatever. Like, he will side with whoever and then, like, fuck over whoever just to make things more chaotic, because he, like, feeds off it. But in the original games, he had a lot of, like, body horror to him. So, like, he would, like, you know, there's one move he does which I really like, which they haven't actually shown, and I'll be kind of bummed if it's not in the game, but there's a move where he, like, snaps his legs, like, so he's kind of, like, bending himself into, like, a C shape almost, like to, like, yeah, he snaps his legs and then, like, fires, like, a blast from his arms. But it's like he does all that. Like, he has taunts where, like, he snaps his neck to turn his head around and then, like, snaps it back.
Yeah.
And he was doing stuff in the trailer which is really cool, like ripping off his own arm to, like, start his super. But yeah, Havoc's a really fun character. It's really cool that he's back.
Yeah, it like random PlayStation shout out, but like it reminded me of Medieval, where when you don't have a sword, you immediately rip your arm off to use that as a weapon. It reminded me of that.
Yeah, actually, that is actually really accurate. Yeah, that's really cool. I actually didn't make that connection. That's really cool. But no, yeah, that was the trailer. Like I said, we've actually not got that many characters left to show off, because the game's not even that far away. It's just over a month now. But yeah, there's about 5 characters left. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to see, you know, how the next couple turn out. But so far, like, I'm so excited for this game. I think it's gonna just like, to be honest, it has the potential to top like MK9 for me, which is still like one of my favorite MK games. I love MK9.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think we'll probably wrap it up there. As you can no doubt tell, my voice is getting a bit hoarse now. Talking all this time. But we did have other stuff planned. But I think, you know, this whole podcast was really just a trial run. It was really just to find our footing, find out how, you know, we work on this, to find our setups. And, you know, I think we're onto something. I definitely think as we get used to this and find out, you know, what to do next time, what not to do next time, I personally think we'll be onto a winner. So that's how I feel. Obviously, I don't know how you feel about it, Tom.
Yeah, I think this was a really solid start for not having done this for so long.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, and yeah, I think once we, you know, eventually we'll get into more of a flow. We'll know how much to put in, how long that's roughly going to take, and so yeah, I think as time goes on, we'll get into a stride that works and flows.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, so we'll probably leave this here for now. I don't think I've mentioned this to you yet, unfortunately, so kind of just gonna have to do it now. We were gonna plan on doing these like every other week, I think.
Yeah, like kind of fortnightly.
Yeah, I think for the next episode, I think we should actually leave it until the week after that, because on the 27th of August, me and Tom are going down to London to visit some friends, but we're also going to AEW at Wembley on that day.
Yes, yeah.
So I think if we leave the podcast for another week after that, I think we can actually come back and we can do like a kind of sort of review of what we thought of AEW.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really cool.
So it is kind of a bit of a shame to like already out the gate kind of go against our own schedule, but I think in the long run it'll work out better.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as time goes on, we'll kind of, you know, we'll have a day that always works for us, and you know.
No, definitely, yeah. I think as well, I'm open to Tom just doing, you know, these on his own if that's what he wants to do. I'm open to getting other friends of ours in. So yeah, like we're really open to just kind of seeing how things go. But obviously, of course, obviously we value what you guys think as well. Let us know what you think. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What didn't you like? Areas to improve and all that. I'm always open to seeing, you know, what people think. But yeah, I think for a test run, I think we didn't do too bad. But yeah, I think it's probably best to leave it here for now. And then, you know, we'll see you in a couple of weeks for the AEW kind of episode, I guess.
Yeah, see you on the next one.
Cool, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later.
We await your return, warrior.